Thamasi. The explosion sent shrapnel in all directions. The aliens screamed, a sound like breaking glass, as metal fragments found every gap in their armor. Their sophisticated shields might stop lasers, but they were helpless against flying. Chunks of steel. Captain Rithmore, monitoring from his ship, watched in growing horror as his casualty reports climbed. How is this possible? They're using primitive chemical propellants, Stone Age technology. On Soul's Pride's bridge, Captain Park monitored the battle through internal cameras. His Marines moved through the ship like predators in their natural habitat, using the environment itself as a weapon. They knew every corner, every passage, every tactical advantage their ship offered. "Sir," Kim reported, "the alien casualties are mounting rapidly. They're falling back to their boarding pods." "Let them retreat," Park ordered, "but make sure they take a message with them." In the lower decks, a wounded Imperial officer, his carapace cracked and leaking blue fluid, gasped at Choi as the human approached. How did you penetrate our defense fields? Your weapons are so primitive." Choi knelt beside the alien, not to help but to deliver his captain's message clearly. "You want to know the secret? We evolved on a world where everything tried to kill us. While you were perfecting energy weapons in your safe laboratories, we were learning that sometimes the simple solution is the best one." He stood and chambered another round. "See, your fancy shields were designed by engineers who thought they knew everything about warfare. But they never met apes who learned to throw rocks really, really hard." The retreating aliens dragged their wounded toward the airlock, their confidence shattered. The boarding action had been a disaster. Of the 18 elite warriors who had boarded Soul's Pride, only 4 were still combat effective. As the last boarding pod disengaged, Choi's voice echoed through the corridors. "Next time, try knocking first." Captain Rithmore stared at his casualty reports in disbelief. These humans, these primitive creatures from an unknown world, had defeated his best troops using what amounted to throwing rocks very fast. The implications were terrifying. "Retreat to minimum engagement range," he ordered shakily, "and send a priority message to Admiral Kethran. We may have made a terrible mistake." The 3 corvettes pulled back, their crews stunned into silence. They had encountered something completely outside their understanding, a species that had turned simplicity into a weapon more deadly than any energy beam. The quantum communication relays of the Galactic Empire pulsed with unprecedented urgency, as data packets raced across 1,000 star systems. In the diamond-spired command center of Imperial High Command, General Tisara stood frozen before the main tactical display, her tentacled form twitching with disbelief. "Show me again," she ordered her aide, Colonel Yithkan. Her voice carried the weight of someone who had conquered 17 sectors and never been surprised by anything. The holographic recording flickered to life once more. The battle played out in brutal detail, Imperial warriors in their gleaming energy armor being torn apart by what appeared to be simple metal projectiles. The humans moved through their ship like apex predators, returning to their den, every movement calculated and lethal. "Pause there," Thisara commanded, pointing with one of her secondary limbs at a section where a human marine was firing around a corner. "Enhance that section." The image zoomed in, showing a creature that looked deceptively simple. Bipedal, forward-facing eyes, crude-looking armor made of metal plates. Yet the way it held its weapon, the fluid motion as it changed positions, spoke of a warrior race that had perfected the art of killing. "These projectiles," Colonel Yithkan observed, his breathing slits fluttering nervously, "they're just metal. How do they penetrate our shields?" Science Officer Kelthon stepped forward, his crystalline form refracting the light from the display. "General, I've completed the preliminary analysis. These beings appear to originate from what we classify as a Class 12 death world." "Impossible," Thisara replied immediately. "Class 12 designation means surface radiation levels that would sterilize most worlds. Complex life couldn't evolve under such conditions." Yet here they are. Kelthon activated his own holographic display, showing a comparison chart. "My calculations suggest their homeworld has approximately 2.3 times standard gravity, radiation levels that would kill most species within days, and toxic atmospheric composition. The fact that intelligent life evolved there at all is disturbing." The recording continued, showing more horrifying details. A human soldier calmly reloading his weapon while standing over alien corpses. Another using what appeared to be an explosive device against shield-equipped enemies hiding behind cover. "They fight like they don't believe in their own shields," observed Captain Vrelmar, the resident tactical expert. "See how they use solid barriers instead of energy fields? They've built their entire combat doctrine around kinetic weapons." "Because that's all they had," Kelthon added quietly. "On a death world, you don't have the luxury of developing energy weapons first. You use what works: rocks, sticks, and eventually metal projectiles thrown very, very fast." The implications hit the room like a plasma torpedo. The Empire had built its entire military superiority on energy weapon and shield technology. Every species they'd encountered had followed the same technological path. Develop energy shields, then energy weapons to counter those shields, then better shields to counter better weapons. Humans had apparently skipped the first step entirely. "Show me their ship specifications again," Thyssera ordered. The crude-looking vessel appeared on screen. "Their armor plating, it's not just primitive. It's optimized for kinetic impact." "Yes, General. Multiple layers of different metals designed to absorb and dissipate kinetic energy. Our energy weapons would be effective, but their ship seems designed to fight enemies using exactly the same weapons they do." Colonel Yithkan pulled up another display. "General, communication intercepts suggest there are more of them. References to Earth Fleet and Mars Defense Command. This might not be an isolated vessel." The room fell silent as everyone processed this information. The Empire had faced rebels before, even encountered new species with unique technologies. But humans represented something entirely different. Not advanced technology, but lethally. Effective simplicity. "What are their numbers?" Thyssera asked the question everyone dreaded. "Unknown. But if they have a fleet designation, we're not dealing with a single exploring vessel. We may have encountered an entire civilization that evolved to kill efficiently." The quantum communicators throughout the Empire continued their relentless chatter. In distant sectors, Imperial commanders received the first reports with disbelief. A species using kinetic weapons? Defeating Imperial troops? It seemed like a joke until they saw the recordings. Admiral Nexthul of the 7th Fleet studied the footage in her private quarters, her 4 eyes tracking every movement of the human soldiers. She had fought in 37 battles across the galaxy. Never had she seen such cold efficiency. On the industrial world of Kepler 442, military scientists began frantically researching kinetic defense systems. Their workshops, which hadn't seen such urgency in centuries, suddenly buzzed with activity as engineers tried to understand how to stop simple bullets. "The Empire has not faced a threat like this in 3,000 years, declared war analyst Trelvon during an emergency council session. "We've grown comfortable with our technological superiority. These humans have reminded us that sometimes the simplest solution is the deadliest." Back in High Command, General Thyssera made her decision. Send orders to all border fleets. Any vessel of unknown configuration is to be approached with maximum caution. These humans must be contained before they can spread their technique to other species. She paused, studying the frozen image of a human marine. "And mobilize the 4th Battle Group. If these creatures want to fight, we'll give them a war they won't forget." What Thyssera didn't know was that humanity had already survived several wars they couldn't forget. 2 world wars, countless smaller conflicts, and the brutal expansion into space had forged humans into something the galaxy had never seen before. A species that learned from every battle and adapted their tactics accordingly. The news spread through the Empire like wildfire. In taverns on distant worlds, spacers traded stories of the mysterious humans who fought with metal bullets. In military academies, instructors scrambled to redesign their curricula to include kinetic warfare. And in the depths of space, Soul's Pride continued its journey, carrying news of first contact back to Earth. Captain Park and his crew had no idea they had just destabilized the balance of galactic power with a simple firefight. The empire that had ruled the galaxy for millennia was about to learn that sometimes evolution produced surprises that no amount of technology could overcome. Humans weren't just another species to be catalogued and conquered. They were something far more dangerous. They were survivors. The void of space was filled with deadly purpose as Admiral Kethran's task force stalked Sol's Pride through the outer sectors. For 3 days, 12 Imperial cruisers had followed the human vessel, their sensors locked, onto the primitive-looking ship that had humiliated the Empire's finest boarding parties. "Status report," Admiral Kethran commanded from his command throne aboard the flagship Void Reaper. His scales had darkened to an angry crimson as he contemplated the upcoming battle. "The human vessel maintains course heading 347 Mark 6, reported Navigation Officer Thexan. "They appear unaware of our pursuit." Commander Vextai approached the command platform, his forearms gesticulating excitedly. "Admiral, long-range sensors show they're approaching the Tau Ceti binary system, perfect for our purposes. On the tactical display. The binary stars glowed like twin suns locked in a cosmic dance, their gravitational fields creating a natural trap. Any ship trying to escape would have to navigate through intense radiation and gravitational anomalies. "Deploy ships in destruction formation beta," Admiral Kethran ordered. "I want them surrounded from every angle. This time, there will be no escape." The Imperial fleet moved with practiced precision, their sleek vessels spreading out like a net around the binary system. Each cruiser was a masterpiece of alien engineering, bristling with energy weapons and protected by overlapping shield matrices. Inside Sol's Pride, the mood was very different. Captain Park stood in the observation deck, sipping real coffee, as he watched the approaching alien ships through the transparent aluminum viewport. His weathered face showed no fear, only the calm concentration of a hunter who had chosen his ground. "They think they have us trapped," he murmured to Lieutenant Kim, who stood beside him with a tablet, displaying the tactical situation. 12-1 odds, sir," Kim observed. "Their ships outclass us in firepower and shielding by significant margins. But they don't understand us," Park replied. "Engineer Lee, are our modifications ready?" From the engine room, Lee's voice crackled. "Through the comm, the ram prow is installed and reinforced. Electromagnetic pulse systems are online. And sir, the torpedo tubes are loaded with our special surprises." The trap closed with textbook precision. Imperial cruisers materialized from behind asteroids and emerged from the shadow of the binary stars, their weapons powering up with ominous hums. Energy cascades danced across their hulls as they prepared to fire. "Unknown vessel, you are completely surrounded," Admiral Kethran's voice boomed across all frequencies. "Your pathetic attempt to flee ends here. Surrender immediately, or be destroyed." The human response wasn't what anyone expected. "Admiral," Captain Park's voice came back, calm and steady. "You're the one who's trapped." The Imperial officers looked at each other in bewilderment. On Sol's Pride's bridge, Park turned to his crew. "Lee, full power to fusion drives. Kim, target the lead cruiser's shield generators. Han, prepare for ramming speed." "Sir?" Kim asked, her fingers hesitating over the firing controls. "You heard me. We're not running from this fight. We're charging straight into it." Sol's Pride lurched forward with sudden acceleration, its primitive-looking thrusters blazing like miniature suns. The ship accelerated directly toward Void Reaper, the largest and most heavily armored vessel in the Imperial fleet. "They're insane," Vextai screamed. "No one rams a ship with active shields." Admiral Kethran watched in horror as the human vessel grew larger on his screen. "All weapons fire, stop them!" Energy beams lanced out from multiple ships, striking Sol's Pride's hull. But the humans had prepared for this. Their crude-looking armor wasn't just metal. It was a composite designed to channel and dissipate energy across the ship's entire structure. "Impact in 10 seconds, someone shouted on Void Reaper's bridge. Sol's Pride slammed into the Imperial flagship's shields with tremendous force. Instead of bouncing off or being absorbed, something unexpected happened. The human ship discharged a massive electromagnetic pulse at the moment of impact, causing feedback through the shield matrix. "Shields down," the shield operator reported, in panic. The pulse disrupted our entire grid, but Sol's Pride wasn't finished. As the shields collapsed, the ship scraped along Void Reaper's hull, its specially hardened ram prow tearing through armor plating and delicate sensor arrays. "Now," Park ordered. "Use the stars." Kim's fingers flew over her controls. Sol's Pride had been ready for this moment. As they pulled away from the damaged flagship, they released a cloud of metallic particles into the space between the binary stars. The intense radiation from both suns struck the particles, creating a massive electromagnetic interference field. "Sir, our sensors are being jammed," reported multiple ships simultaneously. "That's impossible," Vextai protested. "The humans are using stellar radiation as a weapon." In the confusion that followed, Sol's Pride launched its torpedoes. The Imperial fleet expected energy weapons or guided missiles. Instead, they got something far simpler and deadlier: metal cylinders packed with conventional explosives and propelled by chemical rockets. Multiple projectiles incoming. Warning voices echoed across the Imperial fleet. The aliens tried to shoot down the incoming weapons with point defense systems designed for energy-based threats. But shooting down simple metal cylinders traveling at high speed proved difficult. Several torpedoes struck their targets before anyone realized what was happening. The explosion of the first torpedo sent shockwaves through the Imperial formation. Unlike energy weapons that transferred their power in specific patterns, these crude explosives released force in all directions. Ships that had been flying in tight formation suddenly found themselves damaged by their own neighbors' destruction. "Pull back! Pull back!" Admiral Kethran ordered as another cruiser suffered critical damage. "Reform at maximum range." But Sol's Pride wasn't done. The human ship dove toward the binary stars, using their gravitational fields to accelerate even faster. Then, in a move that defied Imperial physics texts, they used the stars' radiation pressure on their solar collectors to perform an impossible turn. "They're flying like madmen," observed Lieutenant Yithko, his mandibles clicking in terror. "Captain." Park stood on Sol's Pride's bridge, watching the alien ship spread out in confusion. His crew worked with practiced efficiency, treating this battle like a dozen others they'd fought during humanity's expansion into space. "Sergeant Choi, prepare." "The asteroid field," Park ordered calmly. "Sir?" Choi's voice came from the weapons deck. "There is no asteroid field here." "There will be," Park smiled grimly. "Kim, target that damaged cruiser's structural weak points. Lee, prepare ramming speed again." The Imperial officers watched in growing horror as Sol's Pride charged directly at another cruiser, but at the last moment released a massive chunk of its own armor plating. The metal fragment, propelled by explosive charges, struck the cruiser's hull and shattered into thousands of pieces. "They're creating debris fields," Vextai realized, "using their own ship as ammunition." Within minutes, the space around the binary stars was filled with metal fragments, radiation interference, and the wreckage of 3 Imperial cruisers. The humans had turned the entire system into a weapon. "Retreat!" Admiral Kethran commanded, his pride as shattered as his formation. "All ships, retreat to Sector 12 and regroup." As the surviving Imperial ships limped away, Sol's Pride hung in space among the debris, its hull scarred but intact. Captain Park looked at the tactical display showing the fleeing alien vessels. "They fought like they were in a simulation," he observed, "following rules and patterns. In space, there are no rules except survival." Engineer Lee's voice came over, the comm amused despite their situation. "Captain, we just used 2 suns and a handful of scrap metal to defeat a fleet. Think they learned their lesson?" Park watched the last Imperial ship disappear into hyperspace. "No, Lee. I think we just made them very, very angry." The crystalline spires of the Imperial Palace stretched toward the sky like frozen lightning, their surfaces reflecting the light of 7 moons. Deep within the palace's core, Emperor Vaithgora sat upon the throne of worlds, his ancient form draped in ceremonial robes that had witnessed 3 millennia of galactic conquest. The throne room itself was a testament to Imperial power. Walls made from the compressed matter of dead stars, floors of polished metals from 1,000 conquered worlds, and hovering eternally above it all, a holographic map showing every system under Imperial control. That map now pulsed with warning signs as reports flooded in from the outer sectors. Admiral Kethran knelt before the throne, his once proud scales now dulled with shame. Beside him, the other surviving officers from the failed hunt remained silent, their defeat written in every trembling movement. "Rise," the Emperor commanded, his voice carrying the weight of ages. "Tell me again about these humans." Kethran stood shakily, his injured left arm hanging useless at his side. "Your Imperial Majesty, they fight like nothing in our databases. Their weapons are primitive, metal projectiles propelled by chemical explosions, yet they defeated 12 of our finest cruisers." "Show me," Vithgora ordered. The throne room's air shimmered as holographic displays materialized around him. The battle replayed in painful detail. Imperial officers winced as they watched Sol's Pride ram directly into Void Reaper, saw their formation torn apart by simple explosives, witnessed their greatest tactical minds outmaneuvered by creatures that fought without rules. "Pause there," the Emperor said, pointing at a freeze frame showing Captain Park on Sol's Pride's bridge. The human stood calm amid battle, making decisions that seemed insane, but worked perfectly. Dr. Zelmaya, the Empire's chief xenobiologist, stepped forward. Her tentacled form rippled with nervous energy as she activated her own display. "Your Majesty, I've completed my analysis of the combat recordings. These beings display characteristics unique in our database. Observe." The hologram showed a human skeleton, then layered muscle and organs over it. Bipedal construction with forward-facing eyes, a predator's configuration. Their brain-to-body ratio is extraordinary, suggesting high intelligence combined with rapid decision-making capability. "Continue," Vithgora commanded, though his expression grew darker. More concerning their homeworld, Dr. Zelmaya pulled up planetary data extrapolated from biological markers. "Our estimates suggest a Class 12 death world, gravity 2.3 times standard, radiation levels that would sterilize most planets, toxic atmospheric composition varying by region." Murmurs of disbelief echoed through the throne room. Class 12 worlds were considered uninhabitable, places where only the simplest organisms could barely survive. Yet complex life evolved there, Dr. Zelmaya continued, her voice dropping to a whisper. "More than evolved, it thrived. These humans show signs of having faced countless extinction events and adapted each time." She activated another display showing human weapon systems. "Look at their technology. While we developed energy weapons in controlled environments, they refined kinetic weapons during constant warfare. While we perfected shields against energy, they learned to use the universe itself as a weapon." The Emperor leaned forward, his multifaceted eyes focusing intently. "Their numbers, Doctor. How many of these creatures exist?" "Unknown, Your Majesty, but communication intercepts suggest a coordinated civilization. References to Earth Fleet, Mars Defense Command, and lunar shipyards indicate a spacefaring society with multiple worlds." In the heavy silence that followed, military strategist Kyle then spoke for the first time. "Your Majesty, in 3,000 years of expansion, the Empire has conquered over 10 million species. We succeeded because all followed predictable patterns. Developed shields, then weapons to counter shields, then better shields. But these humans? They never developed the first part. They went straight to making weapons that couldn't be stopped by shields we've relied on for millennia." Emperor Vithgora stood, his ancient form still commanding despite its age. He walked to the great window overlooking the capital city, where millions of alien species lived in harmony under imperial rule. "Show me their ship again," he ordered. "Sol's Pride appeared in the hologram, crude-looking but terrifyingly effective. Its scarred hull told stories of battles survived, upgrades made with necessity rather than elegance. They don't just fight, the Emperor realized. They adapt. Every battle teaches them something new. Dr. Zelmaya nodded gravely. "Persistence. Hunters, Your Majesty. On their world, humans chased prey across vast distances, never giving up, always learning, always adapting. Millions of years of evolution created the perfect survivor. The implications crashed over the throne room like a tsunami. The Empire had grown comfortable, ruling through technological superiority and predictable tactics. Humans represented something they'd never faced, not advanced technology but lethal adaptability. "Orders, Your Majesty?" Admiral Kethran asked, though his voice betrayed his fear. Emperor Vithgora turned back to face his court. His expression had changed from curiosity to something approaching terror. "Send out every deep space scout. Find their homeworld, this Earth. Deploy surveillance networks throughout the outer sectors. I want to know everything about these humans." "And if we find more of them?" Vextai asked. The Emperor was quiet for a long moment. Then may the ancient ones have mercy on us all. We've spent millennia conquering civilizations that thought like us, fought like us, made the same technological choices as us. He gestured to the holographic records of the battle. These humans don't think like us. They fight with their environment, not against it. They turn our greatest strengths into weaknesses. Dr. Zelmaya's tentacles writhed nervously. There's something else, Your Majesty. Based on their evolution, humans likely learn from every encounter. They'll study our weapons, our tactics, our strategies. Next time we meet them, they'll be ready for everything we used this time, the Emperor finished grimly. Far from the Imperial Palace, Soul's Pride continued its journey through the void. Captain Park stood in his quarters, recording a message for Earth Command. Behind him, through the viewport, stars wheeled slowly, each one potentially harboring life he'd never dreamed of. This is Captain Park of Soul's Pride. First contact has been achieved, but not as planned. We've encountered a galactic empire that views us as prey. They've learned we're not easy hunting. He paused, thinking of the battles they'd won through stubborn ingenuity. Recommend immediate defensive preparations. These aliens have superior technology, but predictable tactics. We can beat them, but it won't be easy. In the throne room, Emperor Vithgora made his final decision. Deploy the 1st through 7th fleets. I want a blockade established in all sectors where humans might travel, and begin planning for containment protocols. Containment, Your Majesty. These humans are too dangerous to roam free. We'll find their homeworld, surround it, and ensure they never spread beyond their own system. What the Emperor didn't know was that humanity had already spread to multiple worlds. As Soul's Pride raced toward Earth, relay stations were already carrying the message of first contact. Across human space, shipyards that had been mothballed. Since the last war were humming back to life. Dr. Zelmaya watched the Emperor's orders being carried out, a chill running through her tentacled form. She had studied countless species across the galaxy, but humans were unique. They weren't just survivors, they were specifically evolved to overcome anything that tried to kill them. The Galactic Empire, in its arrogance, had awakened something it couldn't control. As Soul's Pride disappeared into hyperspace, carrying warning of the Imperial threat back to Earth, the greatest civilization in galactic history began to tremble. Behind them, space itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting to see what would happen when humanity learned they were not alone, and that something vast and powerful wanted them dead. The end.